What's up, people? I making sure everything is good. Hopefully, y'all doing well. On this in my neck of the woods, I would say it's a lovely day. Kind of cold though, but the sun is out, and that's a good thing for the sun to be out. Um, One of the interesting things that before I get into the topics, that I sometimes struggle with, just in all honesty, is to I think I treat it like Paul. What Paul said. I'm excited either way to have a day here on earth, to have another opportunity to talk about who God is to me and what he has done for me and through me is incredible. It's incredible, to say the least. And then if I was to die, it would be gain as well, because I would be, in heaven. Uh, that's my belief. I mean, I live like that. That I'm going to heaven. You know, and it goes without saying that I'm not perfect, right? It goes without saying. That's not something that, I mean, people say that, right? They say, well, I'm not perfect. Well, that's obvious. And so, but I live my life in that way. And so when people say, I'm excited because it's another day above ground, well, for me, I do believe it's exciting for me either way. um with the passing of Jen, I recognize um the frailty of life, and I appreciate each day more and more. And so hopefully you do too. And it already told us that we should do that, like in Colossians 3 and 1 and 2, I believe it talks about, living with your mind, living in the with your mindset uh towards the kingdom. And what's up, homie? Salute to you too. Appreciate the support, Mr. Andrew. It is a For me, it's a privilege to be where I am today in the journey that I'm on. If you would have asked me, of course, 6 months ago, 5 6 months ago, would I be able to have a mental space um, of where I am now? I would. I couldn't fathom that that God would grant me so much peace. Um, I guess for most people say this soon. Um, but what I've been doing though is trying to make sure that I'm honest with my emotions. Um, excuse me, honest with my emotions, and also honest with people and how I'm feeling that day, and and also with my kids. Some of the most amazing people I've ever been around are my kids, and I have to. The crazy thing is, I have to discipline them. Um, and let them know that I still love them. And I'm super excited to know them. And I told them that I'm proud to be their dad because of how they walk in this journey, losing their mom. It makes me want to kind of focus in a little bit better. Now, let me tell you that there are days that I don't get out the bed, okay, because I am struggling to move, you know, and I currently have that freedom to do because of you know, things that I've done to kind of put myself in the position so far, or with God's help as well as Jen's help. Uh, and so I am uh, day to day. I am day to day, like I'm day to day trying to maneuver through this grief journey. Okay, so I have been. If we talking about, I usually give a score or something like that. I've been at eights, most of the time. Yesterday, if I would say I was at a 9. Tuesdays, man, Tuesdays are for me a day of um, reflection, uh, and then a day of chiseling. What I mean by that is because on Tuesdays I get to be on King Talk on the Lapeef Network, right? And that's a blessing within itself. I don't know if I've said it on any other of my videos, but how it came about had to be a God thing. You know, me and Jr. obviously did not know each other, um, and I just simply requested, to kind of learn a little bit about him. Oh no, not about him, but for him to help me with my podcast journey and how can I improve it, right? And and so what ends up happening is I contact him. We talk. It's supposed to be a 15-minute call. It ends up being a hour conversation. Then 2 weeks later, we have a lengthy lunch discussion, and then all the things the tools that he gave me to kind of get better at this YouTube space and kind of building my platform, which I'm not as consistent as most, and that's okay right now. I'm getting my feet wet and doing what I can in the time that I have, right? Um, and so we began embarking on a friendship, and then that's kind of how it started. And the dope thing about it is the Lapeef Network was me and Jen's favorite podcast, you know, and we would watch it pretty regularly. Even the clips that they would send out, we would even discuss them in our house, and we would disagree at times, and then at times we would agree, of course. And it was a really good dialogue for us to kind of chisel each other, as also as a way for us to spend time together. And for me to be on the platform is an honor and a privilege, as well as a surreal moment, a humbling moment, and the one that I know that she would be crazy over the moon for. And so when I go on, I want to make sure 100% that I represent the Christ that I serve, and then also my name, and also represent Jenny in her absence, right? And I think about what is it? It's crazy. I would think about sometimes, not all the time, what is it I should say, and how can I somehow make mention that of her in some of the statements that I give, right? So, but nevertheless, last night's um, King Talk was was quite interesting, and the reason why I think it was quite interesting is because the question that was presented, we had to very much be cognizant of the words that we stated, but we live in a space in time that's not always. I mean, that's what we have to be, right? We have to kind of dumb down our words, trying to figure out what are the words that we need to be saying, right? In order to make sure that there is nobody that is offended. And the interesting thing is because of that, it makes you have to think even harder about the words that you want to say, which is a good thing at times, right? You want to be able to be mindful of the words that you use. And so for me, that's what I was doing. I was trying to figure out what are words that I can say that will be respectful and not come off as negative. And and what's crazy is that Sir Hale was like when I stated my biblical structure or my foundation, he used it as if it was I don't know if the word was attacking, but he used it as if I was badgering the witness, if you will, by my statement. When in actuality, as I stated on there, I said, "Listen, these are my thoughts, and this is how I rock." So, since this is how I rock, why is that a problem that this is my thoughts? And then it's I don't know why he would not remember the words that he said. Uh, when I said to him, he has a point. No, he has a stance, is what he said. What's up, Mom? He has a stance, And I'm like, why would you not present your stance instead of trying to be I mean, you can do both. You can be an advocate, to try to say that, I want to make sure that both sides are understood or heard, which is fine. But also the question was, what are your thoughts on it? And so if you're able to, Sir Hale, I'm saying, appreciate you coming on the show. If you're able to talk about your thoughts and present yours, then that should be the same freedom or respect across the board, right? So there's that, and I was able to present that in an eloquent way without being disruptive or badgering, but because I didn't want to go too much in on him because everybody else was kind of doing that already, and so and, and 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 some people would say that he held his own, but I would say I wouldn't necessarily say that he held his own. I think that he conceded gracefully, um, later on in the show, and he did so. That's my opinion. You know, Mr. Andrew said, "What I noticed is respectful discourse, which you brothers worked through your points of view. It was great to see. Also, how you held your frame in response was on point. I really appreciate that, Andrew. And I that's what I try to do on a regular basis, and that wasn't always me. Hey, Auntie, and by the way, once again, so it's on record, the food was delicious. The kids loved it, and when you can get kids to love food, you did a good job. Yes, what I'm speaking of is a recap of last night's show on King Talk, and before that, I was just giving an update on, you know, where I am in my journey. Um, in the absence of Jen and what's going on, things of that nature. And you're welcome to go back and watch it as well. Uh, where was I? And so me conversing with him was was helpful for me because I enjoy discourse and difference of opinion. I enjoy it immensely because it allows me to. It gives me an opportunity to get my point across, but at the same time, it gives me an opportunity to hear somebody else's perspective to see if it is one in which I would like to take on myself, right? And I haven't always been that type of learner, but that's what the gospel has shown me is that um, it is important to hear what people have to say, even if they agree or disagree with you, right? That's some of the things that Jesus did, and on a regular basis. But then if you go to Paul, like he checked Peter for being basically a hypocrite, right? And so I feel that is well within the reason of people in general. If you hear somebody say something that's out of line or that you disagree with, we won't even say that it's out of line. We'll say that you disagree with it. Then you should have the freedom to state that uh, in a way that is respectful. And man, I'm telling you, when I was younger, I didn't care about respecting you. I did not care about how you took it, how it felt to you. I wanted you to know how I felt. That was the most important thing to me. But like I said, Christ changed that. And that's fortunate. I think that's a good thing for me as well as others. You know what I'm saying? Uh because my tongue was very sharp in a negative way. And so anyway, as we moved on, there was another conversation, and I may have missed something, and I apologize if I did. Please ask the question, and I'll answer it if I missed something. Uh, there was another part of the show where I think with Ricky, and I must have not been paying attention, but it was brought to my attention where he was saying that if I'm and shout out to Ricky, I enjoy being on the show with Ricky, Mr. Ricky Williams. Um, Go support him as well. I think he talks about boxing if I'm not mistaken. And so there was a statement that he made about if I'm a protector and provider, then and I'm not out here cheating on people or cheating on you, then you should there should be no reason or something like that you should feel good. Which I think that's overall I think that's good. That's a solid statement to make. But those that have been married, there are other things from a man's perspective. sorry, from a woman's perspective, they need more than just that. But I would try to say this is what I'm thinking. That I would say that protection has some subtitles, right? Which I think that would have been important to for me to kind of expound upon if I was paying attention enough. Because, for example, one of those is emotional support. Like I think that's a part of protection for a woman, so that she can feel safe to share her thoughts, about whatever it is that's on her mind. Because women love to talk, but hey, so do I. Some men like to talk, right? And so I think that's the point that I would have, or I should have made clear, or maybe get him to maybe dive deeper into. Maybe that's a great question to ask on the show. Like, what does providing look like from a man's perspective? What does protection look like from a man's perspective, and vice versa? That would be an interesting, I think, dialogue to talk about on the Let's Talk show, or even on the King's Talk or any other platforms that we got going. That's crazy. I get to say we, right? Since I'm on the Lapeef Network. And then the other thing was, when the question was asked about fear, the question was how to overcome fear. And I stated in the beginning that, fear is having a lack of information. Because once you have the information, you're responding to the information that you have, whether that's a lot or a little, and there are less unknown factors. And so when you have the known factors, you tend to be less fearful, right? And so that's how I took it. Now there are other ways of fear, to take place, such as if somebody's trying to attack me physically, there may be a fear of my life. And the reason why I'd be fearful of my life is simply because I want to be around currently for my kids, but at the same time, I'm not afraid to die. You feel what I'm saying? And so, but the thing that I do fear, that I did not state, was to find someone, to whenever that time comes, to find someone that is suitable for me, with me having 4 kids, and then being the individual that has, I guess, I have high standards. I have, my personality is a pretty strong personality. Really, just like, what type of woman would want to be able to deal with the scenario that I have, and having her not think that she is replacing Jenny, right? So I have the word fear is because the Bible says we should not have a spirit of fear, right? And so if I'm being honest, right? I'm being honest, not if I'm being honest. So to be honest, the fear that I have that I shouldn't have is, who would be the individual, that will come into the space with me and want to take the journey even further, right? Because the thing about it is, um, Jen did a lot. You know what I'm saying? Jen did a lot here in the house, and I'm well aware of, where women are now. More women would prefer to be working, right? Women would prefer. This is what I'm hearing. Now, if I'm wrong, then I'm cool with that. Okay, they would prefer to be individuals that are co-leading in the relationship. Let me see what Mr. Funky Dude says. I think we focus too much on the differences between men and women. If we focus and build on our similarities, the differences wouldn't matter as much, because we'd be more likely support each other. Man, that's a dope statement. That's a dope statement. I concur. I concur to uh, a degree. right? For the most part, I would say yes. If we focus on the things that we have in common, uh, then we will move forward. The thing about it is that uh, there is a disconnect between what the two parties are supposed to be like in a relationship marriage. A co-lead cannot take place, but that is the thing that is wanting to take place. And so if you cannot get on the same page as far as how it should be in a relationship, then that is going to be a major breakdown. And Andrew said that he agreed with what Mr. Funky Dude said. And you say, I got you for sure. Yeah, at some point I do too. And what we say here? Come together based on our commonalities and work toward bettering one another. Yeah, and I'm with you. I'm with you. I think that makes sense. But the thing of it is that um, who is going to fold? That's basic, or humble themselves. I wouldn't say fold. Who's? I guess it kind of is. It's like a negotiation thing going on right now. I think there are men that are ready and wanting to be married. That's what I think. I don't. I can't speak for them, but they also are not. What I mean by ready is that they're mentally ready to be a leader in their household. Okay, the part that I would say that they are missing is the spiritual aspect. So for me, I would say that there are not a lot of men ready, and I would say there are not a lot of women ready because both sides don't really operate from a spiritual standpoint. You know, so you know if both parties would understand that they need to have God first in their life, in my opinion, okay, to each his own, and they will walk in a way that is connected to the gospel, to the scripture, where it says that uh Christ is the head, and then he's the head of the man, and the man is the head of the woman. If all parties would respond in such a fashion, then I believe those marriages work well. Okay, whether the woman is outside of the house or inside of the house, I think also I can be corrected that women need to have more of a focus on not focus, but the word I would use is that that women should uh, be more focused on being a mom than a worker, like what I'm saying. So like, I don't think that it should be. I think you should have goals to work outside the house if that's so. What the man or the relationship says, it makes sense. But I far often currently see that that working outside the house is more important, so that I have my own money, or I'm not bound to this marriage, that if it doesn't work out, then I have a way out, right? And that's not good. That's not good. And then for the men, I think there's a misunderstanding of what submissiveness means from the woman, for a woman to be submissive to you. And so what it really means is that she is yielding to your leadership, and she's saying that she respects your leadership, especially if she marries you. She respects you as that, and not for you to abuse that. You feel what I'm saying? Okay. Let's see. It's more better for you to speak about what your fear is, to free yourself from what holds you back. Yeah, agreed. Speaking speaking about it internally and externally allows you to see what it is that probably won't happen. You know. Now, for me, the worst thing did happen, but the good thing about it is that I didn't know how prepared we were for it, because me and Jen talked about if either one of us was not here in the near future. Like we talked about that. And so as much as it hurts, I can see how she prepared us for her not to be here. there's I might have to write stuff about. I might have to write a small book or something about like the different things that have happened as a result of that. And then there's a question: do you know what it's like for a 50 plus in relationship? Those who wanted to be married. I I I, I don't know much. I don't know much. What I do know is that I would say that it's similar across the age group after 35. Is that um, women have a hard time following men, and because of the word submissiveness. I mean, he is the lead, so it's hard for women of that generation uh, to follow men because it has been what is it? Men have been seen as uh, lack of to have lack of leadership, which is true in some cases. However, um, if you decide to take on a relationship with the guy, that means that you feel like he has good leadership, and so the man, the 50 plus man, he has so many options, right? And so I think because he has options, because he typically he has money, he has status, prestige, maturity, he looks better at as you get older, and so I think that currently I don't think women understand that they are competing with other women, and so this is what I'm seeing, and so women are not competing. They think that the dude is going to come up to them, and they're going to be the only one. That's not the case for 50 plus. So that's what I would say to that. I didn't even plan on being here this long, but y'all asking questions and having dialogue, which is dope. Leadership should be versatile. Sometimes one partner needs to take the lead. Sometimes the other. My girlfriend and I have been together for 10 years. No one is the leader. We only had 3 arguments ever. Well, that's good for you, Mr. Funky Dude. Let's see, and that's good. That's good for you. That's not the norm. Most businesses do not operate with two partners. Now, what I mean by taking lead is that, like for example, in my marriage, Jen led school. You know what I'm saying? She led the homeschool part, right? For me, I led the direction of where we're going as a whole, as a unit. So I would consider myself, if it was a business, I would be the COO and the CFO, and then she would be the vice president. You know, it would work like that. So it's not that I would not take her advice or her wisdom, because in my opinion, she was much more uh, intelligent on certain matters than I was, especially the emotional disconnect that I would have at times, right? Uh, let's see. It says cultures and roles change over time. They change as we grow as human beings. There's never been a time in history where returning to the old ways of thinking ever helped us move forward. Yeah, I totally disagree with that. I totally disagree with that. Because, you know, it, what's interesting when people say that, they discount things like math. Math has been around forever. The old ways of teaching math works, right? The old ways of teaching math works. The old way of math works. The old way of teaching English works. The old ways of teaching, matter of fact, should probably even go back further, when education was in the home and the parents were providing the education, or it was maybe more than one age group in a particular building learning, and not just separating them based on third, fourth grade, but separating them based on intelligence, right? Because everybody learns so differently, so that's old school, you know. And then as far as relationships work, the majority of old school relationships are the ones that are thriving. The ones that actually they chose, um their spouse was chosen for them. Those work. You can go check that out some anywhere. uh should we go up to men? I mean, you should. I don't know if you should go up to men. I would say that you should definitely make it aware that you are interested in them in a relationships perspective. And why not? I mean, other women probably are doing it, but I understand that you definitely want to make sure you want to make it as if you want to make sure that the guy knows that you're interested in them. That's what I would say. And everybody does that differently. You know. Hey, my dude, what's up, developing dad? Salute to you too, homie. And also the chat. I don't typically talk to people in the chat. I'm usually gone by now, but this is pleasurable. This is cool, right? And listen, we're gonna have to get at another one, Doc, because another sit down conversation because we missed out on a lot of things. It was really good. Uh, let's see. So you wrote a lot of things. So your problem is thinking of a relationship as a business is not. It's a cooperative. Name a time where it did then. You have to kind of explain that where it did then. Where it did then. I'm hoping that you're thinking that you're responding to. Uh, I'm thinking that you're saying that I'm thinking as a business. No, I'm not thinking of it as a business. I'm correlating. Okay, as a business. Um, because it is a partnership. It's a covenant between the two people, which would be considered a contract in in all situations. And if you violate the contract, then things happen negatively. And so what I'm saying is, for you it works, right? But it's also your girlfriend. The question would be, like, who would be your legacy? If you had a kid, who would be your legacy, right? Uh, and so being married, and then as far as the leadership perspective, that would be interesting in the dialogue with you about, like, how can two people lead? Right now, there are studies on it that it rarely happens. Okay. Uh, and I don't like to throw a weight around as far as studying is concerned, but I study business for the past 6 years, and and then there's also a book called Good to Great, and it talks about the businesses that went from good to great, and it's an empirical study that shows that it was only one leader that had a vision and then got people together to see that vision out. It's no different than the gospel. You know what I'm saying? It was Jesus's vision, God's vision, and he gathered 12 individuals to make sure that the gospel went out, right? And then he even had like he had like four dudes that was like his core dudes, so to speak. Weren't necessarily better, but they were closer to Jesus, right? But the hierarchy was Jesus, then the disciples, and then in people underneath. So could you imagine? Well, you may not. Like, I can't imagine there being a situation where you have uh, two people trying to lead. Like, how do you determine who is the person that is going to, uh, who is going to, which idea is best? Is what I'm saying. Verifiably false. uh, in marriage, you are on. I should be I'm not sure what you're trying to say. New ways of teaching math are better. Okay. I mean, I was a math teacher for 11 years in middle school as well as college. And the old ways worked. I was a master teacher, you know. But that's your opinion. That's cool. Mines are based in facts. For me, I use introspection to bring a measured response to discussions from within my marriage. It was hard at first as I had a bullish mindset and hardly ever reviewed my actions. Oh yeah, you got to review your actions. That's what leaders do. Good leaders, anyway. Like, you look at you look at yourself to see what is the best way to or not the best way. You look at your inner self, but you have to be connected to whatever your structure is. So mine is the Bible. So if I'm looking at the Bible to see how am I in line and out of line with the Bible, then I can self-assess better. But if I'm just saying, or if those that don't look at the Bible, if you have a particular structure or standards that you follow, then you need to be saying, okay, is this what I'm doing? Or am I aspiring to be that? You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. Big ups to developing that. Listen, I'm gonna shout him out again for sure, because he's a really good dude. I thought we was friends, like we're friends, but if you go look at the video, you would have thought that we knew each other for a very long time, and we had just met that day. Oh yeah, classical education is a prime example, and that's for Mr. Funky Dude. We do classical conversation here in my house, and my kids are. Um, I mean, if of course you ask, I'm talking, but they're more intelligent than a lot of the students that are taught at the grade that they're in, because the classical education allows the kids to um, learn at their own pace, as well as it allows them to have the freedom of discussion. In a classroom setting, kids rarely get to voice their thoughts because it's a small amount of time. Okay. All right. Just name a time when it did. If I'm wrong, that's easy. Name a time where it did. If I'm wrong, um, uh, you can go Google Cole. I don't have it off the top of my head, but it was talking about that there are some people that are doing co partnerships, but the majority of them don't. And I just gave you good to great as it relates to business. If you go look at Middle Eastern marriages, they last for a very long time, or African marriages, those that are not westernized, um, they last for a very long time. And you can go check that out for sure. Oh, he's talking about education. Yeah, it's happening right now in the classical education movement. Yeah, it's a big movement for sure. Hey, the chat is going off. That's what's up. It's happened during the Protestant Reformation. Uh, yeah. So that's a good conversation. Let's see. That's a good conversation in the chat. I'm not going to address everything. Okay, but here we go. And this will be probably my last point, maybe. Ephesians 5:33. Nevertheless, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect. Yeah, absolutely. But that's the thing. Each person thinks that they deserve that or they're owed that, when in actuality it's a commandment for both to do that, just that. You know, husband, you need to be loving your wife, and even before you get to that point, before you get to the point of marriage, um, you need to be in the courtship phase. You need to be loving her, or even before that, you need to be showing the qualities of a husband. You need to be a husband before you ask somebody to be a wife, and you need to be a wife before you accept someone's proposal. And if you don't know what it is to be a wife, then you need to go do some research. You know what I'm saying? For sure, Mr. Funky Dude, I really appreciate you stopping by and giving different perspective. It's dope. Oh, that's what's up, developing that. I didn't. That's dope. Yeah, I appreciate that perspective, man. And then last question: what do you do when the man is now leading the home and the wife had to take to the lead? The wife should never take the lead. The wife should never take the lead. She doesn't have to take the lead. She chooses to take the lead, and that's what I was saying. That's what women. That's the issue with women that think that they should take a lead, right? You chose that dude, as we're talking about husband. You chose that dude. You chose that dude, and you said that he was your leader. That's what you said. Okay? You said yes to him to be your leader. So There are good leaders and there are bad leaders, right? If he's a bad leader, you're still going to have to, the Bible tells you to still follow him. You know what I'm saying? If we're talking about the Bible tells you to still follow him unless he tells you to do something out of line with the gospel. It's no different than me having to obey the laws of the land, right? There are laws that I disagree with, right? But there are some, the ones that I disagree with and go against my faith. I'm well within my right to disobey those because the highest law for me is God's law. And as I said before, that's the struggle that many women currently have, um, is thinking that there is the man should only be respected if he's loving her, which is not the case. It's not true, because Christ loves us regardless of how we treat him, right? He doesn't say, you know what, you love me first, right? You love me first, and then I'm going to love you. No, he loves us in spite of us. So women, you need to respect your husband or the one that you want to marry, um, because the gospel also says, um, what's the word I'm looking for? It's talking about reaping coals on him. What is it? The pleasantries or something like that that you would give to him or her. You know, the statement is kind of like killing them with kindness. Yeah. Oh, how I love Jesus because he first loved me. Yes. Right. So it is important to, uh for each gender to understand their role, right? Understand their role. The man is the leader. He should be led by Christ. And the woman should be submissive to her husband, just like, the man should be submissive to Christ. And if you're working in from that perspective, yes, that was it. Thank you, homie. Thank you, homie. You will heap burning coals on his head based on your respect towards him. It has happened in real time, in real life, where the woman was doing her biblical duty and the man changed. His heart was softened. He was like, who is this God that you talking about? Case in point, I know some people, I won't say the name, but I can say Lee Strobel, who wrote The Case for Christ. His wife was she was respectful to him. And so much so, he was like, okay, I'll go to church with you one time just so I can go disprove this God you talking about. Come to find out, he's one of the most well cited individuals that did not believe in Christ and then wrote books and movies about the existence of Christ. So there is both people coming together for a common goal, which is, to show what the church looks like. And see, this is what I'm talking about. I didn't say that the man didn't have to do his part. I didn't say that. I said the issue is both of them. But the man does not have to do his part in order for the wife to do their part. That's not how that works. Right? The woman needs to do their part, which is to respect her husband, follow his leadership, even if you don't like it, because he is going. This is what I don't understand, why people don't get what they don't get. The man is going to get the blame regardless of what the situation, whatever the outcome is. Okay. Yeah, I understand you just sharing, but I'm saying this is not just for you. This is like in general statement that this just general statement that it's important for the woman to follow the man's lead, even if she disagrees, because that's a part of respect, right? It's a part of respect. There are things that I disagree with that Christ wants me to do, but because I trust his leadership, I follow. It's the same thing. I'm not that it is not conditional. It is a commandment, right? And I'm just saying that is the that's what's going on currently, and that's why I say that both need to be rocking with Christ, okay, in order for the thing to work. Well, that's all my time. I got to take the kids to somewhere to hang out and do homeschool. This has been a good discussion. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel, and let other people know what's going on out here. I do have a website that I'm working on for the new merchandise or whatever, Humble Dad wear. And then I also have a workshop that I'm working on, Humble Dad workshop that I'm working on. That's going to be Father's Day weekend 2022 in at Cross City in Euless. So thank y'all for your time. Once again, for the algorithm, make sure you like it and then share it. You dig? And then y'all already commented, so we rocking with that. I love y'all. It's been a pleasure. And until next time, we out here. Deuces.